Yeah.
And then there was one. Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, where the Clemson Tigers are the #1 team in our early Gridiron Expert Top 25. And guys, you probably knew it already, but this Clemson team is going to be scary good in 2021. Now, I know so many people are freaking out because of all the losses from last year. They lose Trevor Lawrence. They lose Travis Etienne. Don't worry. Clemson's going to be just fine. Yes, the Tigers went 10-2 last year. Yes, they lost to Ohio State by 21 in that Sugar Bowl playoff semifinal. If anything, that's just an extra chip on Dabo Swinney's shoulder. That's an extra chip and extra motivation for this Tigers team. Because let me tell you, look at everything they have coming back. They've got DJ Uiagalelei as the brand new quarterback, a guy we saw in action a handful of times last year against Notre Dame, against Boston College, a guy who people think could be even better than Trevor Lawrence. And that is a scary thought. This defense, guys, returns 10 starters, led by the best defensive coordinator in the country in Brent Venables. And some people criticized Clemson's defense last year, especially after that Sugar Bowl loss to Ohio State. The Tigers still had a top 15 defense last year. They're going to be even better this year. And that is a scary, scary thought. And then you look at the schedule, guys, which is why we're here today. We're not predicting any games. We're just here to take a look at the schedule. And you look at it and you say, good God, they can probably go undefeated again. Good God, their most difficult game is in the first week of the season when they face off against Georgia and Charlotte. And after that, they might not face a difficult opponent, semi-difficult opponent, until the ACC championship game, where they might play North Carolina or Miami or whoever it may be. So let's take a look at their schedule, guys. Let's take a look at the #1 team in the country, at least from us here at the Gridiron Expert. It all starts with that first game against Georgia. It all starts with that first game in Charlotte. And we talked on this game a little bit earlier when we talked about Georgia and did their schedule preview. We'll obviously have deeper analysis and predictions on this game later on, here in just a few weeks. But this is a game where I think Clemson is in a very great spot. First off, what a great game this is going to be. A top 5, top 4 matchup, right? Georgia's defense going up against Clemson's offense. Clemson's defense facing off against JT Daniels. And this Georgia offense now is going to be fantastic. It's going to be a great game between what I believe to be two relatively evenly matched opponents. But when you look at Clemson here, if they win, they're set. If they win, I don't think they're going to be an underdog, obviously, in any game left on their schedule. They might not even be an underdog here against Georgia. It'll be close, but not an underdog. So if they win, they're set, more than likely run the table. If they lose, again, do you see a team here that maybe they could lose to? Most likely not. Upsets do happen, but they might not face a difficult opponent or a team that could beat them until the ACC championship game. So they win it, they're basically a lock for the playoff. If they lose it, they're not going to be left out of the playoff as long as they don't lose again, as long as they win the ACC. And obviously we know the ACC much weaker, dare I say easier, than the SEC, than the slate that Georgia has to face the remainder of their season, with the possibility of facing Alabama in the SEC championship game. So yes, Clemson wants to win this game. They may even be favored in this game, but if they lose, it's not the end of the year. It's not the end of the season. They have a lot of time to make it up. So Georgia, huge game. Biggest game of week 1, most anticipated game of week 1. Of course, we'll have more analysis on that later on. South Carolina State, right after that. Cupcake opponent, Georgia Tech. Clemson beat the Yellow Jackets 73-7 last year. Enough said. At North Carolina State. Did not play last year. NC State, it's a bit of maybe a trap game here if you want to call it that, because NC State had a major bounce back year in 2020. Won, 8 games last year under Dave Doeren. Unfortunately, couldn't get their bowl win against Kentucky, but still, nonetheless, 4-8 in 2019, 8 wins in 2020. Major turnaround. They figure out their quarterback problems, and they believe they did that really in 2020. At NC State is a game where Clemson cannot afford to overlook the Wolfpack. Cannot afford to overlook them. Maybe a semi-decent challenge there. Boston College. The Eagles gave Clemson a big scare last year in Death Valley. We're leading by 28-10 at one point. But after that, Clemson shut them out, ended up winning 34-28, and that was with DJ Uiagalelei. Let's keep that in mind. We got to see him play the entire game because Trevor Lawrence was out with COVID. So Boston College, I really believe is doing a solid job. Jeff Hafley did a fantastic job in year 1. He'll do probably even better in year 2, but they have to come to Death Valley. Get the bye week, and they get Syracuse and Pittsburgh. Back-to-back road games here. And it's never ideal to play back-to-back road games. It happens. It's unfortunate, but it's not ideal. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how maybe poor some would say the opponent is. You never want to face teams back-to-back on the road. At Syracuse, Clemson defeated the Orange 47-21 last year. This is a huge year for Dino Babers, more than anything. Huge year for Dino Babers. Remember a few years ago, people thought, hey, Clemson's coming to the Carrier Dome. Syracuse is looking good. Like week 2 or week 3 of the season, people thought it would be a trendy upset, and Clemson won by like 40. 41-6, 47-6, something like that. At Syracuse, off a week of rest. I don't think many people are scared about that game. If you're looking for a key stretch for Clemson, if you're looking for that key 3 or 4 game stretch that we've done for every team so far in this series, I think it starts here at Pittsburgh and runs through Louisville. So really only 3 games. And I'm not even saying these are the 3 toughest games. Obviously, Georgia is the toughest game on Clemson's schedule. But if you're looking for 3 key games, a little 3-game stretch here where maybe Clemson could get upset by somebody within the ACC, is probably right here against Pittsburgh, Florida State, and Louisville. Pittsburgh obviously losing a lot of key starters from last year, but have for a while now had one of the best defenses, not just in the ACC, but in the country as well. So coming off a win against Syracuse, playing on the road for the 2nd consecutive week is something to consider there. Pittsburgh obviously is no slouch, even though Clemson won that game against the Panthers 52-17 in 2020. They get Florida State on the 30th. Bit of a rivalry game there. Obviously, there was some bad blood between these 2 programs last year, and they didn't even play. They didn't even meet each other last year due to COVID. So, bit of bad blood. Mike Norvell, Dabo Swinney. Obviously, Clemson not lucky, but get to host this game in Death Valley, a very hostile environment. But a Florida State team that we saw flashes of brilliance from last year. Namely, that big win against North Carolina when the Tar Heels were the 5th-ranked team in the country. Mackenzie Milton is in at quarterback. Might be able to do some magic with the Seminoles. Amazing story regardless on his comeback. Seminoles could be a bowl team this year. Might hang with Clemson for a while. And then at Louisville, a team that I do believe bounces back this year after a very disappointing 2020. So much talent last year for Scott Satterfield's squad, and they failed to live up to the expectations, failed to utilize that talent. And while I'm not saying Louisville's going to go win 9-10 games this year, I would expect them to get back to the postseason. At Louisville, certainly not a game that Clemson wants to overlook, especially in the first week of November as well. Things always seem to get wild in November. UConn on the 13th, not too worried about that. Wake Forest, Clemson won against the Demon Deacons 37-13 last year, and then they get to renew their series against South Carolina because they were unable to play the Gamecocks in 2020, again, due to COVID. Despite being in the same state, despite Clemson traveling outside of the state to play other teams in the ACC, they couldn't play a team in their own backyard against the Gamecocks. So it'll be great to see so many rivalries like that getting renewed in a way after not getting to see them play in 2020. So Clemson traveling to South Carolina, obviously a team that is in a bit of a disarray right now as well. Shane Beamer coming in as the brand new head coach for the Gamecocks. They've got a lot to figure out. He'll get there in time. Hopefully soon we will get to see this rivalry series get competitive again. But I don't believe many would expect that in 2021, even though the game, again, is on the road. So you look at Clemson, guys. The FPI has Clemson with an 11-1 record. Who that loss might be Georgia. Probably it, honestly. That is the toughest game on Clemson's schedule. And you know that's crazy, right? You know when you look at a team's schedule and you say, the biggest game on our schedule, the most important game on our schedule, is in the first week of the season against a team that's not even in our conference. That's crazy. And again, say what you want about Clemson. Give them all the crap in the world about strength of schedule. It's not their fault. Georgia is a great strength of schedule booster. They're playing another SEC team right there. So bookends. The first week of the season, the last week of the season, they're playing 2 SEC opponents. For many other teams across the country, they wouldn't dare do that. They wouldn't dare schedule 2 teams out of the SEC. It doesn't matter who they are. So don't give Clemson a bunch of crap for that because, again, it's not their fault that the rest of the conference is weak. It's not their fault that the Atlantic Division is weak. But the FPI has them at 11-1, a 64.6% chance to make the college football playoff, a 15.4% chance to win the national championship. And there's a chance, guys, I will say this. They played Georgia in week 1. That might not be the first meeting in the last meeting between these two teams in 2021. There is a chance you could see them have a rematch, either in the national championship or in the college football playoff, because both these teams are going to be super good and they're going to run their schedule into the ground right after week one. Dogfight in week one, Georgia, Clemson could be on a crash course to meet again later on. The Tigers, guys, looking to avenge what was a very disappointing ending to 2020. They have the talent, they have the coaching, and they absolutely have the schedule to do it. And that is why they are number one team in the country heading in to 2021. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Share our videos and hit that notification bell to get all of our videos coming your way here in the next few weeks, because we're about to start prediction season, meaning we are predicting every single game for every Power 5 team. You do not want to miss it. It's one of the best times of the year. So get those notifications. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to check out everything down in the description below. So much exclusive content for you guys that you do not want to miss. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.